Hey guys, we welcome you all to ISTE's Late Night Podcast. This is Anjishnu, and we
Guys,
will.
Vishnu, before we begin the podcast, I want to share something strange that happened with me the previous night.
Oh, come on, I was going to get to the good part. Never mind.
Anyway, I'm intrigued all of it. So go on, please.
Yeah, even I cannot digest. So yesterday I rewatched Inception before going to bed. And after that, I had one of the weirdest dreams. Is it just me or does Inception mess up your dreams too?
What do you mean?
I don't know, like maybe level of dreams, like whatever it is showed in Inception.
The dream within a
Okay,
dream thing?
Right.
You'll
you
have to get
mean
into a bit more
that
detail.
happens over real with you?
It does so happen. Is it like not something normal? I don't know. Like, what do you guys have thoughts on
Uh,
dreams in general?
so what I read was like your if you get that sort of level dream, that is quite rare. I might go on a bit of digression to explain how dreams are there. We experience them. So basically, what happens is that when you dream, there is a phase called the REM sleep. Have you heard of it?
I
Yep.
somewhat.
Yeah.
I
It's
think it's
the
It stands for rapid eye movement.
yeah, correct, Anjush. No. So basically, during the REM movement, the brain is very active. Even though your body is like resting, you're mentally very active then. So during that time, the since the brain is very active, and what nerve is connected to the brain, which gives us this perception of images. Can you guess what is that?
Not the nerve thing, I suppose. And Adesh, you can go ahead and explain it. I would love to hear.
Okay, sure. So basically, there's the optic nerve is there, which is connected from the brain towards to the retina, and the optic nerve is responsible for images, right?
Right.
Yep.
What happens when we dream is that since the brain sends impulses everywhere, so the optic nerve also gets one of them, and that leads to a perception of seeing images when we are asleep, which we call dreams. So
So you,
during this time, yeah.
so you want to say that optic nerve is its basic dreams are illusion of that? I'm not sure.
About illusion, I'm not sure if you can call it illusion. Some do call it an illusion. Some say that it means to convey something. But like what the strict biological scientific explanation of that is your optic nerve because that is connected to your retina. So that is the most obvious thing why you would see images with your eyes closed.
That makes sense. Yeah, I'd always wondered like what dreams exactly are. That does make
Mhm.
sense.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Sometimes we see
So
things that are not actually possible, and also certain things which we actually didn't see in real life. I wonder where they come from.
yeah, so
Right.
you raise an interesting point. What I've heard is that basically we see various things in our life during the time when we are awake. And when we dream, the brain practically creates a mishmash of all of that. So whatever you see in your dream, you have seen something like this before, and some part of it is from somewhere, some part of it is from somewhere else. Like oftentimes, what I dream is I dream of my school, and in my school friends there is like my college friends or people I know from before from my childhood which were not in my school definitely, and then some people which I look up to, respect them, but they were not in my school. So everyone gathers around together, and dreams are not logically bounded. That is basically, I guess, why this thing happens. Because since they are not logically bounded, they need not make sense.
I
Hmm.
see, I see. Also, how do you even distinguish the fact that you have come out of a dream or you're awake in the reality? What if when you're out of the dream world itself shapes as if it is your reality itself? It is your room where you get up, it's your bed, everything is as it is. How will you even distinguish that thing?
Are you talking about this concept called lucid dreams?
Okay, what is it?
So lucid dreams are the specific type of dream in which you practically know that you're dreaming. You can control your dream, but you cannot wake up, cannot get out of it. You just can control your character in a dream. I assume that if you have played any virtual reality game, you would have a pretty good sense of what I'm saying.
That makes sense. Yeah, yeah. I've had a lucid dream once. It was a weird experience to say the least.
Really? What exactly was it, Anjashnu?
So so basically before that it's not a random occurrence for me. I actually looked up a few ways on how you can try lucid dreaming. So one of like basically you have to how a lucid dream starts up is you just realize that you're not like you're in a dream and like you're not in reality. So that connects to what you were saying, right? Others like how do you realize that you're in a dream and not actual reality? Dreams, well, from what I've heard and seen, is there'll be some kind of inconsistencies of all sorts. So, like in the dream that I realized, so one technique I was supposed to use is every time you wake up in like actual life, you make sort of like a habit. Like maybe you check your fingers, you check both your hands and your fingers, and then
Mhm.
you maybe check things around the room or something of that sort. So what happens in a dream is
Right.
since it's not always accurate, you might have like an extra finger or something. And if you can realize that, you'll realize that you're in a dream. Does that make sense to you guys?
Wow.
Oh,
So
yes.
Anjish, no, what you want to say is that I mentioned this thing that dreams are not logically bounded, right?
Yeah.
But what you are saying is that in a lucid dream, this thing does not apply to your brain. Your brain is logically bounded and is capable of this deductions based on what it sees in the dream itself, right?
More like it will become a lucid dream once you realize that you're in a dream. So yeah, once you realize that your dream is not making sense, it's at that point it sort of becomes like a lucid dream state.
I see.
Hmm,
Also, guys,
interesting.
I have one interesting fact to share. Okay. So, okay, when you're in a dream, all right, so you see your dream with your eyes. That basically means you're a character playing in your dream, right?
Hmm.
Okay,
Right.
so uh, you don't know what's gonna happen next, but the next thing happens, right? Like it's a story in which you are the protagonist and you're playing a character and the story is going. But I've always wondered this fact that how it knows what's the future of that dream or where that dream will turn. Because consciously, I need to be playing character, right? So who is this person inside me or this thing inside me who's actually guiding the future of that dream? Like, does that make sense?
Somewhat,
Hmm.
but not
That does
really.
sound cool. Not really, but yeah, that does sound cool to me. And if I try to make sense of it, I guess what you are saying is that, like, since we dream, so who decides the conclusions of our dreams, right?
Right.
Uh, what I what I think happens is that since it's all in our brain, it is bounded in our brain. So what a body will decide as a whole, it is self-contained in that.
Okay, so basically, you want to say it's just me who is deciding what's going to happen next, and it's me who is playing the character as well. Wow.
Yeah, so in a way, what we can say is that we all dream, lucid dream, but only some of us realize that we are lucid dreaming. Well, other times we control it without knowing that we are controlling it. I guess you can make sense of that.
I see. Okay.
Yep, yep,
Well,
yep.
I think this is it from my side. Oh, yes, we had the podcast, right? Okay, and Jishnu, you can go ahead with it.
Yes, so finally I can go ahead with it. So welcome guys. We welcome you all to IST's Late Night Podcast. I am Anjishnu and with me I have
So Anjish, no,
not again.
uh, I wanted to we were having an interesting discussion about the dreams, and Alokik mentioned this thing about the future of dreams. It brought me to an interesting point I've been thinking about. Are you interested in time travel? Let me tell you some of the cool facts about time travel, right? I've looked up on it. Pretty much interested in it. So let me just share some cool things about time travel with you all.
I am
Uh,
hooked. I want to know, Adesh. Come on, go in and share. Go ahead and share.
Yep. That sounds interesting. Even I have a few things to talk about time travel.
Okay, all right. Inception is not a movie on time travel, but the director Christopher Nolan has made another movie, which is about time travel in a sense, Interstellar. You might have you seen Interstellar?
I have. I thought you were going to talk about Tenet, but I'm glad you started with Interstellar.
Even I.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
Right.
because I want to like point out a fact that is not very mentioned in when you talk of time travel. Like when you talk of time travel, you mostly assume that we are talking about going to the past and doing something because that is the interesting thing. That is where we have all these paradoxes arising, from
Mhm.
self-inconsistency statements and all that.
Yep.
So, but what about going to the future? Like, have you thought about it?
I have, yes, but how does it connect to Interstellar?
Right. The thing is, in Interstellar, the characters do travel forward in time in a way, because if you remember, they pass their black hole, and for once, for the what time they spend, equivalently 50 years on Earth pass, or maybe even hundreds. Like his
Ah,
own daughter becomes older than him. So that is a
Right.
form of time travel. He's flung to the far future, right?
yeah. I know. This is based on the theory of relativity, right?
Right. So I don't know the technicalities. I'm not good at physics, but anyway, I can guess the essence of it. What it's saying is that uh, time they're traveling near the speed of light makes time go slow, and
Yeah.
for us, like it is for slow for us and normal for the others. So for what time passes for us, say 1 second passes for us. So in that time, we can have something like 7 years pass on Earth orbit. So when you come back, you find out that your twin brother is much more older than you and has experienced many different events. Yeah, there's new technology and stuff. Basically, you are into the future.
Before we are into the future, I've always wondered this fact that future is has not happened yet, right, guys? So how can you be actually travel to a future or to a place which has not happened yet? Traveling to the past does make sense because it's most likely that you're going to a time that has happened, which we read in history books. But how about we go? But how is it possible that we go to a time which has not happened?
Okay, so
Right.
basically, yeah, in the way that Adarsh has told this, yeah, this makes sense because think of it like this: you both both the person who's quote unquote time traveling and like everyone else, they're both following the same path of history. Everything's going same. It's just they experience it at different speeds. So while everyone else is going around at normal speed, the time passes slowly for the other person. So for him,
That
it feels like less time has passed when for everyone else, a lot of time has passed. So in a way, yeah, that is sort of like time travel.
that basically means that future has already happened, right? Because you're flowing through something because I try to connect it with the multiple parallel universe theories, and it says that there are a lot of possibilities in which the future can come out to be, maybe,
Infinite.
yeah, infinite. So
Uh,
how do you actually travel to a particular position? I don't know.
Yeah, so
mhm.
that's
What
what
you
it's different.
say is
Yeah,
interesting.
Adarsh.
But I think we cannot travel to a specific place, at least as I envision it, because to get near the speed of light, you need to be near something massive, like a black hole or stuff like that. Even if you, in Interstellar, they had to orbit this giant black hole called Gargantua, right? So I don't think you can do it like I'm standing here in my room and I suddenly go into 10 years into the future. I don't think you can do that thing.
Okay, I think I have an idea to explain it easily. Okay, let's say Adarsh, sorry, not Adarsh, okay, let's say we take you and we cryo freeze you. Okay, you know what's a cryo freeze, right? It's
I know.
basically, yeah.
Yeah.
So we cryo freeze you, and then someone unfreezes you 10 years in the future. from your point of view, you have technically traveled 10 years into the future, no?
Yes,
Hmm.
but that
Yeah,
basically
that's
means that I was sleeping for 10 years. So that basically means that time was happening when I was sleeping for 10 years. So
Yep.
that is not an issue. When it is actually happening, when the present is moving towards a future, that's not
Yeah.
an issue. But how about you leave this present and go to a particular future which does not exist? I don't know.
So yeah, while we have no like time machine that can strictly do that, what others is talking about with like with how it works in Interstellar is people they're just moving at different paces and time. So with the cryogenic example, you're just frozen, and for you it feels like no time has passed at all. But for someone else, like in the Interstellar movie only, for them it feels it feels like time's passing normally, but they're going at a much slower pace.
I
mm-hmm.
see.
Makes
Okay.
sense.
Makes sense, right?
And yeah, I think even if it does not make sense, like you still may have questions, you're not convinced about it. But still, I think you can, that those are questions of a more philosophical nature which you are speaking, because currently we don't have any technology that can actually do it, either by going near a black hole or by time machine in your room, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Speaking of time machines, like have you watched the movie Back to the Future?
Yep, yep. That's a classic.
Yep, yep. So, like, what happens basically in that? Do you remember?
The main character, he goes back to the past and he meets his father, right?
No, not his father. Yeah, he does meet his father also, but the actual thing that happens is that his mother and father are both teenagers, and they must marry in later for him to be born, right?
Right, yeah, yeah, yeah.
But what happens is that his mother develops a crush on him. So if she marries him, then he will not be born.
Right. You're talking
With
about
that,
slightly talking about grandfather paradox, if I'm not wrong.
yeah, you can say it is a type of grandfather, not exactly. The
Mm-hmm.
grandfather
Not
paradox is
exactly.
strictly like you go and kill your grandfather,
Mhm.
then you will not be born. If you're not born, then you will not go to the past to kill your grandfather, and that means you are indeed born. So that
And the
leads
cycle
to a cycle
continues.
of self-inconsistent questions, right? Okay, so anyway, I just remember that and Vishnu was trying to record this podcast and I interrupted him. So yeah, sorry, and Vishnu for interrupting. You can go ahead.
Never mind that. So I had a question actually before we talk further about time travel, what do you guys think about reality and like how we perceive reality? Like how do I
Boy, that
put
is
it?
one of my personal favorites. I am glad you raised this issue.
Yeah.
Go on then,
Have you,
Adarsh, take it away.
yeah, yeah. Have you heard of this term called qualia? Qualia.
No. What is it?
No.
Okay, so qualia refers to the theory of the mind. Like uh, there is a functional theory of mind. I can best explain it using this concept. Like your red is not my red. So like Alokik, you are wearing a t-shirt. Like you are wearing a red t-shirt. Okay.
Right.
So I look at your t-shirt and I say it's red. So and you would probably agree with me, right?
Exactly. I would agree.
Right. Yeah. But say that, like, how can you be so sure that what I perceive as red and what you perceive as a red is the same thing? Because, like, can you come to a consensus on that?
Oh, like if you put it that way, it becomes slightly different to think on. It's most likely we know what's red, right? So we can think like the red is red. Is it not, Adarsh?
No, no, I
Yeah,
get
sort
what
of right.
Adarsh is saying. I get what Adarsh is saying. But like, even if you see red as what we see blue, but you have been calling it red all your life, you have been introduced it to it as red all your life, how would you know it? Like, you can't see from someone else's eyes, right?
Oh, yes. That does make
If
sense.
you cannot enter my mind to see through my eyes. And what is red? Red is just a wavelength. If I go into a bit of technicality, then
Hmm.
what we perceive as color are just different wavelengths of light that are interpreted differently by our brain, right?
Hmm.
Right. Yes, exactly.
So let's extend this idea further. What is your perception of reality and what is my perception of reality? Are they the same?
Mm.
That's super interesting. But I think it's mostly because like we decide isn't like how we decided is by like what the general population decides it as, like what majority of people decide and call it as is what it sort of exists as.
You
I don't
can
know, that
But
made more
you
sense in my head.
no, no, you can say Sanjay. It did make sense. But the fact is, this is interesting to put it in this way when you say that other people has a different perception of reality altogether. Because reality should be constant, right? And we are all viewing or experiencing something. Is shouldn't it be that way, or should it be like we have all a particular reality of our own? How is it?
That feels far too wild because even under our, even if we have different perceived realities, we do have some laws that are followed, right?
Right, right. We can agree on Newton's laws. I think so.
There are like many laws we can agree on.
certainly. I
And like even in color, there's color
certainly.
theory. So like
Right,
even if there's slight differences, maybe the differences can be like in the shades that we see. It can't be completely different because we have like a proper fleshed out color theory between the hue and the saturation and the contrast and all that. So it can't be like
Mhm.
wildly different. So like my green cannot be
Wow.
your
How
red
can
because
you be
that's too
so sure,
different.
actually?
mm,
Because, see, your point is a valid one. But these theories, the color theory definitions and all, have been created by us only, right?
Hmm.
So if we like I just said to Alok, like you can't come to consensus on what is your right and what is my right, right? But in the same way, if they can't come to consensus on what we actually perceive, but they are okay with what we call it, then what's the contradiction here? Like in terms of you can say practical.
I can tell that. Okay, so yeah, let's say that your red and my red are different. Let's say your red is my blue, and my blue is your green or something. So if we can't agree on like what it's the certain thing is called, but if we can agree on how we get from one color to the other color and then that color to the next color, I think that makes it certain that there's some rules that we have in common. Does that sort of make sense?
Mhm.
okay, so
Yeah,
basically the
it
change you're talking about, Anjashnu.
Hmm.
The change in color you're talking about.
Yeah, like basically how we can get to that one color to the other color. There'll be like change, the color will be changing, and like, you mess around with the properties of the color to get from one color to the other color. If we both undergo through the same properties, then we can like, that means that we both have a rule in our perceived realities that are the same.
Okay, yeah, and that also means that we
And
would
if that,
actually reach the same point.
yeah, and if we can apply that to all the colors, that means that we both are seeing the same thing.
Mm,
Mhm. Suppose that makes sense. Yeah, yeah. I think what you're saying is right. I can, I think I'm fairly convinced with your point. So anyway, like why I started on this topic because I mentioned something called qualia, right? In that
Right.
term,
Yeah.
and you might be wondering, like, what has it got to do with what I was just discussing? Well, this difference in perception, the technical term for that is qualia.
Hmm.
okay, so what does it actually say, Adarsh?
Yeah, it actually. So I don't know much about the theory behind it, except what I just told you about this color thing, and then generalizing to this whole reality. But it says that we all have a theory of mind, a functional theory of mind with us, You might know this because as child, as we when we were children, we could not think of abstract things, right? But as we become teenagers and adults, our ability to think abstract things increases,
Yes, yes.
right?
I wonder
Yeah,
how do we get to that point where we actually start thinking about
yeah.
abstract?
So our minds slowly start evolving. Our minds evolve over time, right? So this thing that we are able to abstractify things is sort of what you can call a theory of mind. So, for example, to test this, there's a very famous experiment called the Susan Ann experiment. Have you heard of it?
I feel like I've heard of it, but I don't know what it's about. I mean, I can't recall at the moment.
Okay, okay. So basically, the Susan Ann experiment is that suppose there are two girls, Susan and Ann. There is a box and a basket and an apple. Okay.
Mm.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So Susan keeps the apple in the box and then goes away. Meanwhile, while she's away, Anne takes the apple out of the box and puts it in the basket. Now, when Susan will come back, where will she look for the apple? What is the first thing that should naturally occur to her?
Looking at the basket.
Yep.
Why? Why basket? Because she did not see Anne do it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, she did not see under it. So the natural thing would be to look for her to look into the box. And the thing is, like when you ask many small kids over like below 4 years olds, where will she do? They reply that she will look in the basket. And when you ask this same question to a slightly older set of children, they will guess correctly that she should look in the box. Uh, so this is what we can call a theory of mind. Like the children, small children don't have this. They can't think abstractly. They are alien to this concept that you can. When Anne did this, then Susan is not here means she cannot observe. They just take the most obvious information and like based on that they put their answers. So that is what is qualia. So we develop qualia as adults. Thing our own theory of perception. As we experience more, we get more life experiences. We make our own perceptions on the life, like how we lead it. We think that what we lead is the way, but the thing that qualia is the question. Why I'm questioning it is like what we think we perceive and what we perceive are actually different, maybe different.
So basically, we actually, as we grow up, we tend to think like this. That is what you meant, Adarsh, right?
Yeah, yeah, like the more, see, we start thinking in some way, and as more experiences collect, the proof gets stronger. We get more and more convinced that this is the right way. But
Hmm.
again, the same thing, like reality is itself, is it real or is it just our own perception? If it is a perception, then everything that you have come learned up till this point is your own viewpoint, right?
Hmm.
Right. Exactly.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense now. That makes a little more sense now, yeah.
But we can also agree on the fact that certain laws are common for all of us. The universal laws, the gravity laws. I think what Anjashna said earlier, I think that also makes sense.
Yep. So
Hmm.
basically, if you have like the same method of, whatever, like if like the 2 points we can not agree on, so like if you have to check if like the 2 points are the same for both of us, if we can agree on how we get from one point to the other, and if that method is the same, then that should mean that the 2 points are also the same,
Right.
sort of.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Sort of it makes sense. Like as far as our own minds are concerned, since we are bounded by our own minds, we can't think beyond it. So we try to look for consistency in everything. That is the human nature. I don't think we can escape that.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, we completely forgot about the podcast. No, I had to say the introduction and everything. I'm so excited for that.
So Anjishnu, I think we can do that tomorrow. Like we had quite an interesting convo today, but I'm really tired of this now. I think we can do the recording tomorrow.
To be honest, I second Adarsh.
Yeah, not gonna lie, I'm a bit tired too. But can I just do it once, for trial?
Yes, sure, yeah, sure. Go on, please. It would be a good exercise.
Yeah. So, hey guys, we welcome you all to ISTE's Late Night Podcast. This is Anjishnu, and with me I have my friends Adarsh and Alokit. Today we'll take you on a journey through a conversation. But I think we already took you on that exactly, no? Hmm. But
Yeah,
one thing we need to decide is we need a good title. We need a good title for this podcast. Do you guys have any ideas?
the beginning is the end.
Ooh.
Sounds awesome. I love it.
Yeah, that's really cool. I love it. I love it too. So then it's decided then? What do you guys think?
Yes,
Yeah,
Is it-
I
Yeah,
I think yes.
yep.
cool then. The podcast will then be titled "The Beginning is the End."